Welcome back, everyone, to Jazz on Sports. I'm your host, Jazz and Pollock, and today we have a huge show talking about the football weekend that's been happening. There are so many key matchups from college to the NFL that has happened, but thank you all for bearing with me. I've been gone for the past 2 weeks. We all know that we've been dealing with a lot of hurricanes down here in Florida. That is kind of the norm down here during the hurricane season, but we are back in business, and I'm so excited to bring you guys more content and more sports talk. Just before we get started into the topics, I want to give a special congratulations and shout out to the New York Liberty for their WNBA Finals victory. This is the first ever championship that they've won in franchise history. So shout out to the New York Liberty for getting that W. Really excited for them. And the WNBA has been a phenomenal season this year, and I'm looking forward to that. Other news, Jazz on Sports newsletter is going to be tailored solely to the Orlando Magic. The NBA season starts tomorrow, and the Orlando Magic will be playing the Miami Heat. So we're really excited to. I'm going to be tailoring that to the Orlando Magic, kind of being like an Orlando Magic update and news newsletter. But let's get into some of these key matchups. We're going to start with the college football because we all know it's been crazy. And to start off is going to be Georgia versus Texas. Now, this is probably the key matchup besides Alabama and Tennessee, but this matchup everyone wanted to see. We all know Texas was number 1, Georgia was number 5. So both of these teams were legitimate playoff contenders. Georgia, they've been in the defending champs. They've been, doing what they're doing. And of course, Kirby Smart, they're trying to get this team back after, last season. They didn't have the season they wanted, but this is a very key matchup. We look at Texas being the number 1 team in the country, and they are just now heading into the SEC as well. This is their first year playing in the SEC conference, and this was a big major matchup, and it did not live up to what people expected it to be. It was pretty much a blowout throughout the whole game. Texas had a little bit of life. They did bench their star quarterback, Quentin Ewers, and that was a big deal because Quentin Ewers, we know that he is a competitor. But it seems like during the big games, he has those questionable performances, especially against a Georgia team. Kirby Smart wanted to send a message, especially in Austin. They did play in Texas on Saturday. And they wanted to send a message like, yeah, Texas is new, but we're still running this conference, and they still wanted to compete. But let's get into it. The score ended up being 30-15, with Georgia actually leading in the game in the halftime, 23-0. So, I mean, they were dominant. They were dominant pretty much the whole game. Georgia's running back, Trevor Etienne, he carried them. He had over 110 yards and 3 touchdowns with a fourth quarter ceiling touchdown to ice the game. We know I'm familiar with Trevor Etienne because he used to be a Florida Gator. He has now crossed over to the dark side. We get to play them this week, and that's going to be a huge matchup, but we'll get into the Gators a little bit later. But Georgia's defense continues to be a very strong defense. They kept the Texas offense in check. Unfortunately, for Texas, they dropped. I think they're in the top 5 now. But Georgia, they're number 2. They moved Oregon to number 1, which is understandable. Oregon's the undefeated team. They did beat Ohio State last week. And we look at these teams, but Texas is still a playoff team, so Texas fans don't get upset. But this was a game that you wanted a little bit more fight from your team, a little bit more grit, especially playing in the SEC. This was a huge game, and this game is not this. The season's not going to get any easier. So for Georgia, they're going to keep climbing. They got that 1 loss to Alabama, but Georgia's back in that mix, and they're going to be a team to watch. Next, we have the other key matchup game, which is Alabama versus Tennessee. Both teams are a little shaky. They were a little shaky. A lot of people, yes, we have regard for Alabama and Tennessee, but these teams were a little shaky heading into this matchup, especially Alabama. They lost to Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago. No one expected that. For Tennessee, they have a vaunted offense, but they're still like, can they turn that corner? Can they compete for in the playoffs? Can they be that team that's going to get over that hump? And they have beaten Alabama for the past couple of years, so let's talk about it. Tennessee pulled off a 24-17 victory in their home building. Tennessee's Dylan Sampson was the standout player, rushing for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score in the fourth quarter. Alabama's quarterback, Jalen Monroe, he struggled very badly, throwing interceptions and only managing 1 touchdown pass. He was overthrowing a lot of his receivers, underthrowing it, being very indecisive. And for from my knowledge from the game and what I saw was Tennessee's pass rush was getting to him. That's obviously the key thing, and they had a lot of spies because we know Jalen Milroe can run the football very well. He is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation, but Tennessee's defense was able to capitalize off of those key turnovers, off of those miscues that the Alabama team had. And I saw a lot of Alabama fans, they want Nick Saban back. There's certain things that they're seeing that is questionable, like a unsportsmanlike conduct cause that we know Nick Saban would not have had in as a head coach. And we know that Nick Saban was a perfectionist. He was very hard-nosed, and he was all about playing the game. He was all about being professional and all about being smart and playing smart football. Alabama's culture now is starting to change. I'm seeing that right now. We saw it for the past couple of years. And we're starting to see a lot of players lose their cool. We're starting to see a lot of coaches lose their cool. And certain things that we're used to seeing from Nick Saban, we are not seeing anymore. And not saying that Alabama's coach is bad. We're not saying that at all. He has come in. He's done very well. But right now, Alabama is a 2-loss team. They're at number 15 now. They dropped all the way out of the top 10 completely. And we know that the college football playoff is 12 teams. So can Alabama make a last-minute run? They do play LSU, which is another huge matchup. They have Ole Miss. So there's a lot of games that we're going to have to keep watching for them that they have to win in order to stay. Even a 2-loss team could still make it. But for Alabama, they have to win out for the rest of their schedule in order to keep up and keep the pace in the college football playoff. But shout out to Tennessee. They got the win. It's a very big win against an Alabama team that, is predicted to be dominant. But Tennessee got that win, so Tennessee is another team to watch out for as well. Last and finally is my Florida Gators versus the Kentucky Wildcats. I was really excited to talk about this game because we all know the Gators football has been up and down all season. I did a video earlier this year about Florida State and Florida's programs and where they're both headed for as coaching-wise. Billy Napier, as of late, has got this team together in some form or fashion. We end up getting the 47-20 victory. Our great freshman running back, he did a number. Bond, he did a very phenomenal job with 106 yards rushing. And I mean, he was running touchdowns everywhere, 5 touchdowns to be specific, actually. He did a phenomenal job, and I'm really happy for my team. The defense did a phenomenal job getting pressure, getting interceptions, doing things like that. So shout out to Billy Napier for getting this team together. Regardless of how the season goes, the team is fighting. We have a winning record. We're 4-3. To be quite frank, we should have beaten Tennessee last game, last week. It was a very good game. It went to overtime, but we ended up losing. But we should have beat Tennessee last week. But I digress. But as long as we get the win this week against a SEC opponent and a rival, I'm really happy about that. And not only get the win, but get a dominant win at home. Lagway did a phenomenal job. He had 1 pick, but he still did his job and still did what he needed to do. Defense did phenomenal, and the offense was humming. So I'm really happy for my Gators. The schedule is going to get a lot tougher. We play Georgia. We got Texas. We got Ole Miss. We got some teams that we're going to be playing up against. So we got to keep that momentum going. I'm really excited. However the season ends, I'm still, a little weary on Billy Napier, but he is showing that fire that I want to see from my team. And I'm really excited to see what our team and how they handle adversity and being underdogs for the rest of the season. So shout out to the Florida Gators and Florida Gators fans. Continue to support the team and continue to look forward to another season. Now we're making our switch to the NFL. The NFL had some great matchups yesterday as well, and one of the biggest ones was the Lions versus the Vikings. We all know I'm a Packers fan, so I have to report on this. The NFC North, by far, is the best division in football right now. I'm saying that right now. All 4 teams have either 2 losses or 1 loss. My Packers, they got the W against the Texans yesterday. They're 5-2. The Lions are now 5-1. The Vikings are 5-1. Chicago's 4-2. So we look at these teams. These teams look very scary, and it's going to be a nail-biter heading into whoever wins the division and things like that. But let's talk about the Lions versus Vikings. The Vikings team, no one saw coming. I didn't see them coming. They're coming in undefeated. The Lions are coming after destroying the Cowboys last week, and we're going to see the top defense, number 1 defense versus the number 1 offense. And it wasn't close. Now, heading into the second half was a different story. The Vikings did storm back and take the lead in the game. But, of course, Jared Goff and them, they did what they needed to do, and they continue to show people why they're a scary team to reckon with in the NFC. It was a 31-29 victory for the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs, it was a steal when they got him 2 years ago in the draft. He was a standout rusher for over 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a remarkable 45-yard touchdown run, which we don't see a lot, especially against a Vikings team, a Vikings defense that's very, very physical, and they were missing a lot of tackles. So when we talk about that, the Vikings have to get that cleaned up for sure. Jared Goff had another efficient performance. He has been the efficient king of quarterbacks right now in the season, completing 22 of 25 passes, 280 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Aaron Jones, I miss him, but he had a great game yesterday, 34-yard rushing touchdown. They ended up securing the game with a 44-yard field goal by Jake Bates. So when we look at the Lions are a very scary team in the NFC. Can't wait for the Packers and then to face off. I'm really excited about that because that's 2 offensive teams that are very competitive. Even though this is a big loss for them, I didn't cover this last week. They did lose Aiden Hutchinson, which is a huge, if not, he is the face of their defense. He is their drum. He makes them go. He is going to be out with the season with a broken leg. I mean, that was a terrible. I know everyone saw that that video, but that's an unfortunate injury for Aiden Hutchinson. But the Lions still look formidable. They still look scary, and they look like the team, one of the, if not the best team in the NFC. On to another great matchup, and this is going to be the last topic of the day, the Chiefs and the 49ers with a Super Bowl matchup. The 49ers, we have to have a talk. The 49ers do not look good. I'm going to say that now. The 49ers do not look good. The Chiefs end up getting the win 28-18. We got Patrick Mahomes running over linebackers that are just, you don't see that happening. We see Patrick Mahomes running 50 yards down the field, and guys just sitting there afraid to touch him. I mean, the 49ers look discombobulated. The defense dominated them, and I get that there's a lot of injuries, and that's been the issue with the 49ers this past season is injuries. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel had an injury. There's a lot of Brandon Ayuk. There's fear that he has a torn ACL. There's a lot of issues going on with the 49ers, and when we look at them, when is Kyle Shanahan going to get that win? And I think their window is closing, and it's closing shut very quickly. They do play the Cowboys next week, which is going to be a very boring game to me. Both these teams are still trying to figure themselves out, the 49ers and the Cowboys. But the Chiefs are the only undefeated team in the league. Are we surprised? They're the defending champs. They're looking for a three-peat. Even when I don't think the Chiefs look as strong as they usually do, they're still winning. They're still finding ways to win, and that's just the championship mentality, the championship grit that we normally see them. Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions in the red zone. That's not good from your star quarterback. And there's questions that the 49ers have to answer about how this team is constructed and what Kyle Shanahan's future looks like with this team, because it seems like as those 49ers fans are waiting for that ring, they're waiting for that championship win. And we've seen time and time again that Kyle Shanahan gets to the moment, doesn't live up to the moment like his dad did back in the 90s. So when we look at that, I am not sure what the 49ers are going to do. But for the Chiefs, they're the best team in the league. As far as the win, we're talking win. I'm not talking about how the team is constructed, just talking about the win. And they are the only undefeated team left. So are we surprised about the Chiefs? The Chiefs are still the team to beat. They're still the scary team that you got to watch out for because they are the defending championship. They do have Patrick Mahomes. They do have Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Xavier Ware. They have weapons all over the field. They have a coach that can get it together. So for the Chiefs, they get the win. And we look at the AFC right now. I saw the Steelers do a number on the Jets last night. We see the Ravens look like a very scary team. The Bills get Amari Cooper. They could, make something happen, but the Chiefs are still that team to beat in the AFC. But that wraps up the show. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for watching. I look forward to giving you guys more content this week. Again, make sure to subscribe to the Jazz on Sports newsletter. I will be covering everything Orlando Magic, being that the Orlando Magic season is coming up. There's my email also down below, firstimpressionsports@gmail.com, if you want to be a guest on my show. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the show, or if you want me to talk about your favorite teams or players, let me know and definitely contact me. We will see you guys for a show next Monday at noon, same time. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.